I stopped, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. It's really the only but I have two wing rubbers also. Yeah, so pretty much looking for that today. Because I turned 2 wings 2 days ago, so. It's in DC, yeah. It's in it's pretty much a block away from the White House.
Larry says his regards. The residents
Okay. All right, Jody.
Oh, thank you, goodness. Do you know Mr. Barbarolo?
Yeah. Pillows also.
Oh, yes, please, thank you. Because it's... I'll bring that up at the next meeting.
I'm here. Still.
Ms. Quackenbush? Here. Rosenberg? Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Ms. Wallace? Mr. Bannon?
Present. Joan is in Paris, so she's not going to be here. Mike and Mary will probably be here in about an hour. Mary's getting an award of some sort, and Mike is... oh, he's getting an award for the American Revolution, right?
Really quite cool.
Yeah, lots of awards.
Quite cool.
I think Joan moved away from Paris now.
So now she's like she's in the south of France. It must be rough. All right. We have approval for the minutes of regular monthly meeting of March 17, executive session March 17, closed session personnel March 30, closed session personnel March 30, closed session personnel April 6, closed session personnel April 6, closed session personnel April 18, and executive closed session personnel April 18.
So moved. Second.
Before we begin the presentations, any comments from the board? Oh yeah, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Oh, I didn't. I did. All right. Comments from the board? Elisa.
Real quick, I just want to say we had a student dialogue meeting, and it was extremely well run, and there's a lot of stuff going on at the high school, and it's a great group. Today we started at 5 because of this meeting, but normally we do like 5:30.
It's been a while since I've been to
Went to the indoor vision and color guard competition a few weeks ago. If anyone has never been to one of those, I know it's kind of a new thing, and it definitely was not long when I was in high school 20 years ago. Fairlawn High School did take first place, which was awesome, and really they were tremendous. So big kudos to all the people that worked with them, and of course to the students who could perform. Of course, it ended with quite the lovely proposal. She said yes. For those of you who don't know, proposals are these new things where there are these big grandiose proposals to go to the prom, and they put on quite a show to have their person of interest say yes to go to the prom with them. No more just, hey, we'll go to the prom. So congratulations to them. Hope you get to check out the next one. Also, I don't know if someone else is going to, we have to talk about Chapel Institute and back. The play was absolutely tremendous. I can't say enough about the leads who were in it and the show as a whole and how they put that together. It was absolutely tremendous. So it's, as someone who used to be in the arts at Fairlawn High School, it's really nice to see how those shows are going so well and how beautifully they're done, and the wealth of talent that is in this district is amazing to see. So strongly encourage people to see the next show. I believe the next one is Hamlet. Hamlet's coming up, so I look forward to seeing that as well. I hope I didn't miss it then. So, next May. Finally, I know that, I don't know when to bring this up, but we are going to make a date for the next education meeting, and I don't know when to bring up when, in fact, to make sure that we have our cameras on for that because of the topics that are going to be discussed, which is full-day kindergarten and the curriculums and all that. So I know that we had once agreed that we were going to put cameras up for that for people to see. So whenever that gets brought up, I don't know. So
Well, when you set a meeting, just talk to Joanne and she'll make sure it's coming.
We always have, we have been.
okay,
Yeah.
awesome. There you
Is that
go.
it, Jeff?
Yeah, well, happy Passover to everyone who celebrates.
Mark?
Yes, I attended the Community School Board on March 22nd, which attendance has still not improved. There was only a total of 2 board members, I included. And Mr. Shansky, I advised to please place an ad in the community news as well as on the Fairlawn TV so that we could possibly recruit new members.
So let me just get you only have 2 members or only 2 members showed up?
Attendance for the last maybe 5 or 6 meetings has only been myself and Jerry Wynn. That's it. There may be
But there was
more.
other members, but they haven't shown up?
I don't think there's any interest. I think the interest has waned over the years.
Certainly sounds like it, yeah.
I'm happy to say that you can now register for the community school, the adult as well as the summer school programs online. The programs have been advertised through posters that are found in the public library, senior citizen center, the community news, as well as on the website of Fairlawn Schools. There's also online registration, which started on March 23rd for pre-registration for students entering the school. While also the enrollment can be done at the local school. There's going to be an innovative program that's going to start hopefully in September called, it's going to be with STEM components. It's going to be piloted at the Westmoreland and Lindcrest schools, and if it's found successful, the program probably will expand to other schools throughout the district. And this is for the after-school care programs as well. And finally, there are also plans underway for developing a pre-PICO program, since we're not going to have a PICO any longer, being full-day kindergarten. And this pre-PICO program will be for ages 3 to 4, and hopefully it will be successful. Thank you.
Ron?
If you haven't been by the school, Westmoreland, the addition is going very well. It's beautiful, the roof's on, the brick's all done, so the basement's starting to work inside, the windows are all in. It's moving along very, very well, it's on schedule, the weather has been very cooperative, and it's really, really turning into a beautiful, beautiful building. So if you get a chance, try to swing by, and the board members, I'm gonna try to go back next week again and to Joanne and meet the manager and take a tour inside, so the outside. So very, very, very beautiful building. Looks good on the side.
Okay, we have some presentations as required by law and PowerPoint presentations as required by Mr. Warren.
Okay, good evening, everybody. What we have tonight, very quickly, 2 short ones, but as Mr. Banta said, we are mandated to do this twice a year, and it's reporting on the hit incidents in the district, that's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And we also talk about the filing of the violence and vandalism reports as to what's going on in our district in those areas. So I'm going to do that first, these 2. And I have a third item on this, which is brand new. And this is not mandated, but it's mandated by the superintendent. And what that is for the first time, I'm going to share with you what I'm not supposed to share with you. It's not supposed to be made public, but I'm going to do it quickly. And what that is park evidence. So what we've been dealing with now for 2 years, obviously we're in the 2nd year taking the actual park test. We have in our 1st year receiving the information from park. We've been working with a district administration committee of going over what data do we now get, what do we see, what are we going to do with it, and how we're going to roll it out to the faculty. We've been working on that the last few days, as well as, back a little bit. And so I think what's happened is we have more data to look at to help ourselves as districts, and this should be done all over the state of New Jersey, to improve what's going on academically, curriculum-wise, etc., than we've ever gotten. New Jersey Ask never gave us this type of data in depth. HESPA never gave us this type of data in depth. So as we go through this, we hear all these complaints about Park and Common Core and how difficult it is. I am going to share some of the good things with you, so the board, you get to see what we're working with. All right. So the first item, let's go right down here. And when I do this, I'll give me a minute because I've got to go online and pull that down from the website. Now, I'm not going to read this unless somebody raises their hand and asks me to read it. I will. But this is the definition of, under the law, the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And I will just point out some key things. One, the way this law is written, even I think the sponsors of the bill confuse themselves if they're reading some of the quotes in the paper. However, with this, an act of HIB, or harassment, intimidation, and bullying, does not have to only be a series of incidents. It can be one isolated act. And by the way, the law is clear. If the word bullying is brought into the discussion, and there is an allegation of bullying, or there's an allegation of harassment or intimidation, that allegation triggers the law. It triggers the investigation that schools must do. And that's what everybody's so confused. Oh, well, why don't you just let it go? It's not a big... We don't have the right to do that. You have to go by what the law is telling us. It triggers it, we have to do it. Those incidents can be on school ground and they can be off school ground. They can be before school, after school hours. If after school hours, off school grounds, the incident now comes into the school and affects the daily operation of the school, it affects a student in the school. Once it gets inside, then we're obligated to react to that incident as well. So even though it happened down the park on a Saturday night, if it gets back into the school and disturbs the educational environment or directly to any student, we have then got to take it on and start the investigation. So that is a long definition, and it goes on by saying, a little shorter, it talks about the reasonable person. If you deal in law, the word reasonableness or reasonable person comes up all the time. And that's how this refers to what a reasonable person should be aware of their actions or what they're doing. They should know that what they're doing is causing either a bullying situation, or harassment, or intimidation. It further goes on by saying, and has the effect of insulting or demeaning any student or group of students. That's clear, so this is all continuing in the definition. Creates a hostile education environment. So let's say, again, it goes back to that example. It happened Saturday night in the park. Now all of a sudden it's on social media. It gets brought into the schools. The kids are taking sides. And also we have a hostile situation. Even though it happened in the park where it originated, we're now obligated to take care of that and get involved. This is the famous plan that we have to follow. And if you really studied it, it tells you everything you have to do. By the way, there is a consideration in changing the HIB law. They're looking at that right now, which makes a little more sense. And one of the changes is that they want the principal of the school to be empowered to say at the very front end, as it's reported to me, I think it's more of conduct, code of conduct, and we're going to go in this direction. Or as it's reported to me, I really agree, could be, the allegation could be bullying, so now we have to start the law investigation. Now that's not in the law right now, and that they're thinking on the Assembly and the Senate and the Congressman and Senate and the Senate. They're thinking about doing it because there are two bills. Okay. So this flows through. I'm not going to read it, but the flow chart gives you step by step on what we have to do. There's a timing, how many days we have to do each step. There are appeal processes. There's an obligation by the superintendent to concur or disagree with the report that is eventually on my desk, which has been filed by the ABS, the anti-bullying specialist, and signed by the principal. If that comes to me and I read the case, I disagree with it, I can call them, we can have a sit down, we can discuss it, or I can agree with it. Once that's done, it then goes to the board, which we'll do tonight. We examine all those claims and discuss them with the board in closed session, and then the board votes on either accepting my recommendation on each of these situations or not. Then parents are informed within 5 days after the board meeting. If parents disagree with the finding of the Fair Lawn Board of Education, they have rights to appeal, and those appeals, quite frankly, could generate for 180 days. You're allowed to keep appealing with the commissioner and even beyond that. So it's a very long, complex process, and I'm hoping they're going to, trim this down a little because it's just too complex. Okay, the next couple of pages. This is the violence and vandalism report. This is an actual page of one of our reports that we sent down to the State Department of New Jersey. And what we have to report on this page is the HIB incidents. And when you report a HIB incident to the state, even though we deal with a lot of them, you only report to the state those that are confirmed by the board to be a HIB incident. Those that are found not to be HIB, you don't file them in the state. So we file them here. So what we had, and by the way, this is, I said I have to do this twice a year. So we do it for the first half and the second half. So today, in the month of April, I'm actually reporting on the school year of September through December. And then we come back, I usually do in October, I usually report on January through June. And that's how I can do this every day. So I'm talking about the first half of this school year. You have Fair Lawn High School actually had, for the first half of the school year, 6 confirmed incidents of HIV. Could be for a lot of different reasons. Could be bullying, it could be harassment, could be intimidation. There are a lot of protected classes in that. It could be any one of those. And then we had 1 from Memorial, we had 3 from TJ, and that's it. That's what we've had that were confirmed to be HIB. So a district our size, 10, not that 10 is acceptable, it's not, but it's really not bad when you compare us to many other districts our size. Okay, the second report is violence and vandalism incident category. You can see across the thing there, violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, and HIB cases. So those numbers from the first page carry over there in the HIB column. If we look at the others, we had reported to the state Fair Lawn, there were 2 incidents of violence. Violence is a very generic title. Under it, it could be a fist fight. It could be one kid push another kid down on the ground. It could be an outright gang war. I mean, it can range in almost anything. So we had 2 for the high school violence. We had 1 for Memorial. We had 2 at Radburn. So you can probably take a guess if you're talking elementary school. What is the violence? And it's obviously not a gang warfare, that's for sure. Okay, no vandalism, and very fortunate there. Weapons, we had 1. We had 1 at Thomas Jefferson. And again, there's a whole array of what a weapon is. And it could be, somebody put a pocket knife in, depends on the size of the blade. It could be carrying a tire iron into the building. I mean, it just gives you everything. So we have all of that. So out of that, we had 5 violences and 1 of the weapons. Every one of these have been addressed. Every incident has been addressed with administration and parents. So it's not that we just report it, but they've been addressed. Consequences, if necessary, have been eliminated. So then is the following, we just have to go on record by saying that in Fair Lawn schools, the summary is this, which I just said. We had violence 5, weapons 1, confirmed HIB 10. The reports go deeper. That was only 2 pages. There's incident category by the school, incident by location. Where did this all happen? Where did the violence happen? If there were so many, and I think there were 2 in a high school, where did they happen? They happened in the lavatories. Did they happen in the media center? Where did they happen? In all the schools. Victim information, we have to then supply the victim information. Who was the victim in this? What grade level are they? What kind of student? They didn't do the data, so that goes down on the record. It's very confidential. That's why, obviously, I'm doing it by category. Offender information, same thing. Who's the information? What is the information on the offender? And the action taken. What did we do? What discipline did we do? What safety measures did we put up? What counseling did we deliver? What conversations did we have with the people involved, with the parents and grandparents, whoever was involved in all of that on the adult side? So those are the reports, and then we back it up by saying that we have, throughout the year, we have trainings with our staff, we have trainings that we offer to the students and staff, we have on how to handle these, or at least make them aware. The administration gets really deep in those trainings on how to handle it. We did various programs, that's just some examples of some of the programs that we support, including visitations and speaking by our policemen in town. They'll come in, the officers will come in and talk about this. We get emergency management comes in and talk to us about it. So there's a host of programs that we're trying to be proactive. And as you can see, I think it's working in a district our size. Board has policies, it's just a few of the policies, which really fights the hid mentality of people. And we start with a civility policy, which is a policy specifically drawn up by this Board of Education. And it's been an extremely useful policy that we've used it many times. And then there's a bunch of others. So we have to tell the state how the board is supporting all of this, and that's all the documentation that goes down. So this is really a reporting process that we have to go through. And if you don't, obviously then it comes into CUSAC and you're monitored and so forth, so we don't have any of those problems because we follow through. Somebody have any questions on that area? If not, I'm going to go into the park.
Yeah, this flowchart and all this will be available in the online.
The policies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all on. Yes. If you go on a website, there's a link that goes to board policy. You can look at any policy.
Like the flowchart?
The flowchart's not online. No, it's not. Is it online? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Will it be available for the meeting?
But I can give you a copy. That's not a problem. Yeah. I like it. I made it. I drew it. So I created it.
I'll even sign it for you.
Yeah. I'll be happy to. I'll sign it. Okay. I'll be happy to do that. Okay. Just give me a minute and let me switch over to you.
That's it, keep it. How's everything going, right?
120 pages.
And mine are not manufactured. Thank you.
No, but
I can make it out. Oh, yeah, look at that. It's nice. She's so much. She's looking at it.
Okay. Let me share this with you. I'm going to talk. Kelly, please. Thank you. Okay. All right, so up here, what I'm going to share for the first time is some of the information that we gleaned from taking the park test and what we're going to be doing to utilize this information. I'm going to share this with you. First of all, this information is protected through a security sign-on, etc. What we have is a number of different reports. I'm going to show you one example, because I'm really not even supposed to be doing this. But I am going to show you one example. And I'm going to go to the park evidence statement of 4th grade mathematics that the students took. So I'm going to download this, and I want to show you some of the things, just certain items. Okay. This is the first scattergram, and I want you to look at this because what you have is the red diamonds. That is the park states. That's all the 19 states that took this same test that our kids took in 4th grade mathematics. The blue is New Jersey State. So this is all of the students averaged in the state of New Jersey, is the blue. So the greenish yellow dots, that's our students, that's Fairlawn. So by looking at this, you can take one quick look and say Fairlawn in the park. in fourth grade math, we did pretty good. Pretty good.
Question by question?
It's question by question. Now, what you see is why is it going up and down and so forth. These, it starts on the accelerated of the hardest, or de-accelerates, the hardest questions first, and it goes to the easier questions down the line. That's how it's reported. And you can see, here are all the evidence statements what coordinates to the Common Core standard. All right, so they link it. So why is this important? Okay, we're doing pretty good. Why is it important? Well, number one, why did we fall down here, and why do we have a lower score here? And, why are we doing so well up here? Those are questions that we want. Ron?
Is this created? This wasn't you weren't done. The state did that.
No, this is from the State Department.
Yeah, that's right. From the state.
Yeah, this is right from Park Access.
So
The vendor, Pearson, I'm saying. Yeah. So what we want to know is, if we're doing well, obviously we also want to know why are we doing well. But if we're not doing well, and all of a sudden we see these drops, why are we not doing well? Now, some of the charts you will see, similar to this, will be very, very good. And all of a sudden up here, you'll see or maybe down here, you might see a fair long bubble all the way down here. Well, that obviously it raises concern. Well, why? We want to know why. Why didn't we do well on that in the fourth grade? What is a lot of reasons? One, maybe our curriculum doesn't cover that particular question on the Common Core standard. Maybe we have to know that so we can put that into the curriculum, realign it, and teach that. Maybe it's just out of sync. Maybe that question came that we teach that after the park rather than, so all right, so now what you do is just move that up in sequence. So when you're looking at data, academic data, it really makes you think and it starts asking questions. If we don't have this type of data, which we never had before in these tests, we're not going to ask those questions. So what else does it do? Well, if you follow down, and this is what we're going to be teaching the teachers how to use, because the administrators have been working with me on that. Here is the corresponding, right here. Here are all the evidence statements to the Common Core. They fall down here. Here's the evidence statement, number one, which is this one over here. So it's coordinated and linked to number one right here. And it coordinates with the core, Common Core standard and the domain. So I know if we didn't do well, let's say we didn't do well on number 28, so I'm going to come down here, I'm going to look at well, numbers and operations, fractions. We didn't do well. So now we're going to go in and we're going to look at the full Common Core standard and say, okay, we know it's a domain, Common Core fractions. We also know that's the standard. Let's go look at it and see what's going on and look at our curriculum and is it alignment or not aligning. So we have those questions. And this is what you should be doing in schools, by the way. So now if you go down to the bottom, there are a couple of links. The first link makes it easy for us. We go right to Common Core. And remember, we're over here on mathematics, so I'm going to follow this. And everybody's got to play with this. I'm in grade 4, and I'm going to say, okay, let's go to fractions, which is one of my questions. And here you got all the pops up the standards and the domains by CCSS, Common Core State Standards, and it has it right there with the label. So the teacher now can go right to this just by clicking, click, 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 and go right back with the committee, hopefully a PLC, right, which is how we want to look at these things with the people, and they'll go right in, look at the standards, take it out, look at our curriculum, we can start making some intelligent decisions, and that's what we're doing. That's what the administration is studying how to do it, and eventually we're going to roll this out to the staff to teach them how to do it. All right, so there's a lot of information that you get here. Here's Algebra 1. I'll show you this one more. Here's Algebra 1 real quick. Okay, this is a performance level. This is another chart. This breaks it down by a subcategory so we can look at everybody. We can see how does our Hispanic and Latino students doing? How are the African American? How is the Asian students? How's special ed? How's economically deprived, et cetera, et cetera. So we now know what we're looking at as far as the culture and the ethnicity, and how we are approaching that. If I go back to, if we go back up here, and we're going to hit Algebra 1 on the evidence. Let's watch this. Here's what we did in Algebra 1 in this district. So here's Algebra 1. And you can see, again, if you're looking at, we weren't the only ones, the state did. Now look at this, this is funny. The state of New Jersey and Fair Law both dropped here, but the Park states didn't.
Would that be a technical issue for New Jersey if something like that happens?
I don't know. I don't think
Join
it's,
the entire state?
I don't think it's technical, because if it was technical, it would affect the whole test.
Could be a bad question.
So this is most likely going back to where, don't forget, the state of New Jersey is now declared by our governor that, well, we're not gonna support Common Core, right? What we're doing is we're tweaking Common Core, and we're changing questions. You know, so we have to really understand what question is that. But obviously the state of New Jersey, along with Fair Law, we really didn't look at that particular question the way all these other states were looking at. For what reason, I don't know. I don't have that answer yet, but we're gonna, you know, we're not. But if you look at the Algebra 1, you can see how we did, and then we start, you know, again, going through all the data. One more, and then I'm going to sit down and we'll continue with the meeting. But I want to show you the amount of information. If I go to this link, the amount of information, we're looking at blueprints, we're looking at structure, documents, tables, and all I have to do is click on them. So if I go here, if I go to, here's, let's stay with math. So now we have all the evidence statement and keys with all the information that you can go research, and you can tie it right to the Common Core standard, and you can do some research on what it's looking for in construction and so forth of that is. So we're sophisticating ourselves more by asking questions. Why? Because we have data. We never had this kind of data. And those of you who've been in schools as long as I have, you know we never had this kind of data coming back from the state assessment before. So that's why we're pushing. And by the way, the early answer or the early announcement is that we have a ton of improvement in numbers of students taking the Park already. All right, and I think that's come out of an awful lot of hard work by a lot of people to get it out there. That this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
This is not accessible to the public.
No, you can't get this. Only I can get it. And the principals, we give the rights to the principal. And obviously, we're still going to share it with faculty. It's got to get this, but we're doing it in a secure way. Until they tell me we're allowed to release it. I don't know if they're going to say that this year. They may do it next year. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
If you find a distributed concept that whatever grade doesn't have, and you go to change that, won't that be sacrificing probably, like you say, if they teach them after the Park, and with that, won't they be then not teaching 2 or 3 concepts that they would normally teach?
No, because we fit it in. All it is just focusing on it. And it's a time of what did we teach in line, and you just move it forward and get that in. No, it's not linear. It's not where I'm going to take this for 2 weeks, and I'm going to replace this 2 weeks and take that and that slot and move it over here. That's not what happens with working with curriculum. It just overlays you and work it right into the lesson plan. It's like teaching literacy through science, teaching literacy through the use of social studies. You know, you're not saying literacy is here, ELA, and then I'm going to go over here and do science. You're laying them on top. It's a disciplinary, you know, laying right on top. So, it's a good question. Anybody else?
Sorry, on chart, those 2 charts, what I see, the 60% score for the all question asked. So I'm just thinking that Park test model itself, is it affecting the student compared to the NJR before, because it was paper based and now computer based? Because if you open the chart, then I can tell you why.
You want me to open one?
Yeah, just open one, then I can see. If you open the first one, that I see that 33 questions were only answered by the 50% of the students. So what others are doing? So if I look at the percentage column on this side, okay, this one is there. If you see, if I go to 37, so
Question 37?
33 go up. So only 40% was able to answer the hardest question.
Yes, correct.
So that's a very poor performance. Is it because of the format of the question, because it's not paper based? It's a very
No, I think I got you now. Let me see if I can answer your question. And let me just make this down. I wouldn't wind up getting in trouble. And Tracy, you can't say I did this, right?
I'm not sure how that works.
I understand what you're saying. If you look at, first of all, the PARCC testing is a lot more difficult than any test our kids have ever taken. Very difficult. If you're looking at Algebra 1 has a lot of Algebra 2 concepts pushed down into Algebra 1. Okay? If I'm looking at geometry, I might have some other concepts pushed down. So as we're taking the test, we realized, we knew this going into it, that we're not going to have, like in PARCC, we had success rates of 89, 94%, right? Proficiency. Here it's not. Here we know the questions were going to be harder. We bring them in, and we're learning exactly what is the Common Core asking us, and we're going to know that over the next 2 or 3 years. And as the years go on, you're going to see the proficiencies or the correct percentages, correct percentage, not proficiency, correct, will go up and up and up. That's what they're predicting. So it's really because it's so much harder than what we've experienced and what our curriculum has been supporting. Not just us, but the whole state of New Jersey. Because we were doing what we thought we were all doing right, and that was being tested in the New Jersey core content standards, not in Common Core content standards, very different. Okay, I hope I answered that.
And you're also looking at an average, which means,
Yes.
one kid got an 80, and one kid got a 30, and one
Yeah,
kid
right.
got a 90, and one kid got a 10.
That's correct.
And that graph is the average score. It's
Right.
not like that 40% of the, you know what I mean? It's
What
an
is,
average.
well, no, it's not average. Now, let me go back. Wait a minute. It's not average. If you look at how PARCC is scored, there are 5 brackets in PARCC, 1 to 5. And they're saying is if a student scores their scaled score,
Right.
winds up in box 4 or 5, they have either met or exceeded the requirements for Common Core testing in that particular thing. What this is reporting is the percentage of students who made in box 4 or 5. So if we're looking at a 30% success rate on a particular question, it meant that out of all the students that took that question, 30% either met or exceeded the requirements. That meant 70% could have been in box 3, but they didn't make box 4 or 5. That's what this is telling us. It's not average.
It says on the top that it's an average.
No,
So it's an average of the 4
It's
and
an
5.
average of the 4 and 5s, yes. Right. If the parents are here, if you know, we sent out together, we did a lot of hard work. We sent it out, the score reports for the very first time. If you go back and look at those score reports, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. When we were with the New Jersey Ask, we had, the highest score was 300, and 300 was a perfect score. Here it's 850, so you have a whole different scoring mechanism that we're playing with, all right? And those score reports are great because parents can look at them and they can actually see how their child did, how they did compared to other students, how they did compared to students in the district, how they did compared to, it's really a great report, and they're going to get more sophisticated as well. Right, parents, you remember getting those reports? Yeah, right. And those parents, those kids who didn't take the test, I also sent a mock-up report to parents and said, look, this is what you could have gotten. So, we want to tell them what they missed. Does anybody have any other question on this? Pretty interesting stuff, right? That's why we're over here trying to convince people, take PARCC, there is no downside. You can't get hurt by not taking it, or by taking it. You can't get hurt. There's no downside to this. We're not making any major decision. However, in 2020, this will be mandated, and you'll have to pass this to get out of high school. So you might as well start. Oh yeah, that's where it's going. So you might as well start taking it now. Okay, thank you.
Wish you have comments?
I do. A few, just a few. Okay, thank you. Just bear with me a few more minutes. I do have a few more comments, but I'll just go quickly. Okay. As everybody knows, and I just think it's worth us mentioning because we did make comments, but we had, this is where technology comes in. We had a computer glitch through Pearson, and the whole state went down. So yesterday we couldn't take the test. And if you were on it the day before, you could finish it. But if you dropped out, you can never resume on a computer and it will drop out. It's all fixed. We're back today. Things went very well across Fair Lawn School District. Thanks to a lot of our people doing a good job out there, faculty and administration. There is a couple of new things going on with law. There's, you have excused and unexcused absences on the book, and everybody who, sometimes we get parents who take children out and they go, well, that's an excused absence because I'm taking them out myself, and so, well, that's not an excused absence. There's only a few. Well, they're adding one, and the one they're adding is you have a new excused absence. Any pupil who is absent from school on Veterans Day due to the fact that they are attending a ceremony honoring a veteran or a member of the United States Armed Forces or the New Jersey National Guard returning from overseas deployments or assisting, and the law goes on and on and on. And they can prove that they actually did that. That is now going to be an excused absence. So I wanted to share that. There is a new act that was signed not too many months ago called the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. Very quickly, the high points: one, it replaces No Child Left Behind. Thank you. It repeals adequate yearly progress. Thank you. We like these things. Maintains annual statewide assessments. PART. It's up to the state, and right now we're still with PART. States can choose their own standards, so we can adopt, which we first adopted the Common Core. Now they're looking to change it to, obviously, tweak it to the New Jersey Core, Common Core standards, or New Jersey Common Core. Targeted funding at-risk students will be generated. I haven't seen that yet, so we're still looking for that. But that's just some information for everybody, so you have that. There are some congratulations, and we'll, obviously they haven't sent letters and so forth already, because my secretary is pretty good. Congratulations to 2 Fair Lawn students who were accepted into the New Jersey All-State Chorus. Sophie Corleane and Emily Smith Feldman. Sophie was accepted into the New Jersey All-State Women's Choir, and Emily was accepted into the New Jersey State Mixed Chorus. More than 1,166 students auditioned. 13 of Fair Law's finest musicians performed with the highly competitive New Jersey School Music Association Junior High Region courses on Sunday, March 20th. I'm going to make it. If you're a gambler, we can take bets. Fair Lawn Schools, recently we had our arts program, our district arts program. Many of you attended. It was phenomenal. The talent, our teachers did a great job with the kids. The kids very talented artwork. I'm always amazed. I like to paint, but it's usually with a brush on a wall. And these our students do a great job. So if you didn't get a chance next year when we have that, please stop by. It's wonderful to see what our program supports. And again, thank you to the board for supporting it. In all the years of cuts and people going crazy, this board stayed with the arts, and that was very special for this district and for our children. Fair Lawn High School senior Ashley McLaughlin applied to be an intern with the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Student Curator Program in New York City. The program is highly coveted and very difficult to gain admission. Ashley was selected to represent Fair Lawn along with 4 other students from the tri-state area. How's that?
That's great.
We've got a lot of talent. Also, we have a new, we've been piloting a new early grade level science program with our teachers, Mr. Dorso, correct? And I have asked Mr. Dorso on next Thursday, on the 28th, we plan on, this is the program that we will be bringing into, as science programs, into the elementary schools next year. And I asked Mr. Dorso if he'd be kind enough to show up next week and just give a very short, before the meeting, presentation of materials and so forth, so you can see this, because I know science is a great concern of all of ours. All right, Mr. Dorso, so you will do that, right? You agreed to do that.
What's that? PowerPoint. Only if you'd like one.
Hands-on STEM activity for the board members.
I'll bring you some of the samples, but I don't know if I'll have time to do it.
That's right. That's right. And that is it, Mr.
Maine
President.
volcano.
Back to you. Yes.
Okay, you were saying about 2020 is gonna be, is that just our state, or is that gonna be like?
That's our state.
Okay, so the other 19 states will do it.
They can do what they want. Some of them are gonna have it earlier.
Alright. And what are the other states that didn't get part, what are they doing?
Well, there's another consortium, rather than Park. Park is one consortium, there's another state that has another consortium, and there's a handful of states that are doing nothing, either way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have some resolutions. S1 resolution regarding retirement of Mrs. Mary Rooney. Jeffrey, would you be so kind
Sure.
of-
Whereas Mrs. Rooney, a dedicated and valued employee of the Fairlawn Board of Education since 1990, having served as a matron at Fairlawn High School, has requested retirement at the end of the day on June 30th, 2016. And whereas Mrs. Rooney has carefully fulfilled those duties assigned to her, rendering courteous and efficient service to the staff and student body. Therefore, be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the services rendered by Mrs. Rooney and wishes for her many healthy and happy years in retirement. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to Mrs. Mary Rooney.
Thank you, Jeff. S2, resignation regarding retirement of Mr. Christopher Egan. Mark, would you be so kind?
Yes, whereas Mr. Christopher Egan, a valued employee of the Fairlawn Board of Education since 1991, having served as groundsman for the district, has requested retirement at the end of the day on August 31st, 2016. And whereas Mr. Egan has carefully fulfilled those duties assigned to him, rendering courteous and efficient service to the staff and student body, therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the services rendered by Mr. Christopher Egan and wishes for him many healthy and happy years in retirement. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to Mr. Christopher Egan.
Thank you, Mark. S3, resolution regarding the retirement of Ms. Sherry Salinger. Elise, would you?
Whereas Ms. Sherry Salinger, a dedicated paraprofessional in the Fairlawn Public Schools since 2004, has requested retirement effective June 30th, 2016. And whereas Ms. Salinger, with warmth and kindness, has been receptive to the needs of those students requiring special instructional services by conscientiously and confidently guiding them to fulfill their role in today's world, therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education publicly acknowledges the record of accomplishments achieved by Mrs. Sherry Salinger in her teaching endeavors of those students entrusted in her care, and wishes for her a long and happy retirement. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to Ms. Sherry Salinger.
Thank you. We have a motion for S1 through S3.
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the board? Cindy?
I don't know how the high school is gonna survive without Mary Rooney.
Yeah, I don't either.
I just love her. She is the most gentle, kind-hearted, warm woman that will do anything that is asked of her, and God bless her. She's like really up there, and you would never know it. I think, I was surprised to see it, and I just wish her many, many years of happiness, and I definitely will miss her face. She is definitely a shining star in that high school.
Thank you. Mary?
So glad I got here in time for these. I was formulating something to say later if I was late for this. But, so I really do want to congratulate Mary for all her many, many years of service. And also to Mr. Egan, who served as groundsman, and to Ms. Salinger, who has been a dedicated paraprofessional. These are all jobs that the school districts cannot get along without these people. And they are dedicated, and they worked long, and we are so pleased to wish them the best in their retirement, and to thank them for the service that they have given.
Thank you. Bruce?
Yes, probably ditto, so I'll make it real quick. All three, I wish them a lot of happiness and good health in their retirement, and they are very valuable. I know that paraprofessional, I mean, what do you do without them? They're great. Mr. Egan, he's one of those guys, by the time you hear my phone call, hello, this is Mr. Watson, this is snow day, they're already out there plowing and working, and he's one of them, so God bless him. And Mary Rooney is one of the, as Cindy said, and Mary echoed, is one of the loveliest people. And I love talking to her all the time. She doesn't got her trips going home. And I sit and listen to it. And I tell her one of these days I'm going to fly over there and visit that country. But she's a sweetheart. So we wish them all very, very happy and healthy retirements.
Thank you. Any members of the audience? Marcel?
Yeah, I just, of course, I'm going to have to say something about Mary. Mary has been at the high school for 25 years, and she won't want me sharing this with you. She's 82 years old. She has mothered every one of us, and I don't mean just the administration and secretaries and nurses. She has been such a. You want to talk about, I don't need security cameras when Mary Rooney's on. I know everything that's going on. Mary is so kind to so many kids. The impact she's had on our kids goes beyond any impact she had on us. And we're just, I'm happy that she's finally taking the time to kind of enjoy herself a little and retire. And, she would like to have stayed a little bit longer, but it's time for her. And again, we have a motto: work hard and be nice. And Mary is the best role model in that high school for working hard and being nice. She's the kindest woman you ever meet. We certainly, personally, we're going to miss her a great deal. So she's just a wonderful woman. And Chris Egan, I know if Corey Robertson was here, he would really have to thank him. The condition of our fields, or how much work those guys do to get everything ready by the end of the day, and when we need it. He's done a real good job for us over the years too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Dawn?
Dawn at Fairlawn High School. Just wanted to talk both about Chris and about Mary. When I first started teaching here, in my second year of teaching, I moved on to the high school and I got a job as a soccer coach in the high school. And Chris was just absolutely helpful with everything that possibly could have happened. I was a new coach, getting the field set up, getting the fields ready and everything like that, and just a wonderful guy, both for the sports as well as the phys ed program at the high school as well. And Mary, of course I'm going to concur with everything that everybody said. Mary is such a wonderful person, she actually told me on the side, to tell me, when she decided that she was going to retire. And she said, Dawn, come on, I just want to tell you something. And she's like, I want you to know I'm going to retire. I haven't really spread it yet. I was very happy for her. I said, I hope everything is good and that, this is and of course it was. And she said, but the thing that I'm going to miss most is the kids. And she is all about the kids. And she's just like everybody said, just a wonderful person, and just, the fact, that's what she's all about, the kids. And she has always been, since ever I've been at the high school, as well as helping everybody else around. But just, she's really about the kids. I congratulate both of them.
Anyone else? On behalf of the board, it sounds like they're really good people that we're losing, and I'm sure they're going to have a long, healthy, happy retirement. All in favor of S1 through S3? Aye. No, just
Aye.
aye. I didn't hear a lot of aye. I guess everybody. No, not aye. We're not pirates. All right, S4, payment authorization for superintendent's merit provisions. S5, payment authorization for superintendent's merit provisions. S6, school violence and HIB reports public hearing. E1, attendance at conference convention workshop. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval of on-site visits for BCBA supervision for board certified behavior analyst certificate exam. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, approve 2016-17 membership in the Madison Institute Learning Consortium. P1, extended leave of absence without pay child rearing certificated personnel 16-17. P2, approval of certificated day-to-day substitutes in bedside home instruction personnel 15-16. P3, return of certificated personnel from child rear relief 16-17. P4, approval of resignation of certificated personnel 15-16. P5, approval of appointment of certificated personnel 16-17. P6, amendment to approval of appointment Fairlawn High School municipal personnel 15-16. P7, approval of extra instructional time certificated personnel 15-16. P8, approval of leave of absence without pay certificated personnel 15-16. P9, approval to amend hire date non-certificated personnel 15-16. P10, approval of change in assignment of non-certificated personnel 15-16. P11, approval of appointment of community school personnel 15-16. P12, approval of fall sports Schedule C position 16-17. P13, approval of leave of absence without pay child rearing certificated personnel 15-16. P14, approval of promotion of certificated personnel 15-16. P15, approval of non-certificated day-to-day substitutes 15-16. Approval of appointment of non-certificated personnel 15-16. Appointment of community school personnel summer 16. Approval of promotion of secretarial personnel 16-17. P19, approval of resignation non-certificated personnel 15-16. P20, return of certificated personnel from sabbatical leave 16-17. P21, approval of leave of absence without pay non-certificated personnel 15-16. I have a motion for S2 through P21.
So moved. Second.
Members of the board, questions, comments? Ron?
P9, I assume that's March 6th? April 6th, 2015, so March 30th?
No, he started earlier than anticipated.
Wait a minute, so he's going, he was hired, when was he hired?
He was hired effective April 6th, but he actually started March 30th.
Oh, okay.
P9.
P9, I was, it was one of the. I just, like to comment on a lot of great trips with these schools going to, I sure wish I could join the kids to Mount Fuji. Sounds like a lot of fun, but a lot of great trips. It's nice to see how the kids go to a lot of different things for their
For P3, just want to give a shout out. Really happy to see that Mrs. Sain has come back from her maternity. So definitely a big welcome back to her. I've had personal experience with her as she was my daughter's teacher, and just wonderful. I do have a question, just not really a question, it's a statement. For P5, the hiring of personnel, in the past, we agreed that we were going to get like blurbs, or we're going to know who these people are that we're hiring, that we agreed to that. And there's 4 people I have to approve that their name in front of me. I'm going to agree to trust the administration as I normally do with who these people are, that you're hiring the best people for us. But in the future, again, I ask that please that we get information about the people that we are asked to approve. Thank you.
I was going to say the same thing. And it would also clarify why some people are starting on steps higher than 1.
Clarification on why this?
Well, with a little blurb, it would say that the young person worked in District X for 4 years or 5 years. So justify.
Okay. Any other member of the board? Member of the audience? Questions, comments? Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel? Yes. Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Quackenbush? Yes. Mr. Sindell?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Band?
Yes. SE1, approval of tuition transportation to special schools providing regular special education for 15-16. SE2, approval of extended school year 2016 dates and locations. SE3, approval of bedside home instruction for classified students for 15-16 school year. SE4, approval of required related services to classified students for 15-16. SE5, approval of 192/193 service agreement with Bergen County Special Services to non-public schools for 16-17. F1, school use. F2, discharge. F3, acceptance of gifts. F4, bills payable 0. F5, bills payable. F6, transfer. F7, board secretary report, March 16. F8, board treasury report, March 16. F9, attendance at New Jersey School Board Association annual workshop 2016. F10, approval of shared services agreement, technology support services, level 2, school year 16-17. F11, approval to participate in Sustainable Jersey for Schools certification program. F12, approval of addendum to Aramark Management Services for custodial and management services. F13, approval of Fairlawn Community School before, after child care programs and fee schedule for 16-17 school year. And we have one addendum for school use, which I think everybody has. We have a motion for F1 through F13.
Second.
Yeah.
SC1 through SC1 through 5, F1.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Plus the addendum.
Right. F9, please abstain on your own name. Questions or comments from the board? None.
I want to thank the Westmoreland CPT for the generous gift, as usual. Without them, we can't do much. A lot of these little things that we need, so I thank them personally.
Jeff?
On the F11, Brooke, thank you. I think that the letter you wrote to us was wonderful. And I was really happy reading it that they were participating in the Sustainable Jersey. I get emails from them all the time, and I was waiting for the right time to bring it up, but you have done that for us. So we wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in bringing that program to our school buildings and for our town. So great job, and very much appreciated. Thank you. And finally, F13. I'm glad we're putting that to rest. All the stories. That's it.
Any of the audience?
John Ebner, Fairlawn High School. I have two questions, actually three questions. On F6 and as well as F13, it says that the list of funds is attached and the fee is attached. I don't see where those are attached to this.
F6 for the transfers, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what else?
And F13, it says that the fees are attached. The fee schedule is attached, and it also says on the other one that the transfer list is attached, and I don't see where those.
The transfers are in a binder. We always have the transfers in a binder, it's usually right out on the front table, we don't have copies of that. It's a large document, we always have it for reference.
Okay.
The schedule, I don't know why that's not there.
Is there a way to get a look at that, or?
Sure, did it come home in the update though, on your transfer?
No.
Copy.
Fee schedule. Yeah, we have it.
I have it.
Yeah, the fee schedule's there.
And then my other question, with F12, and I don't know if you have this number handy. It says that the amended amount is $1,669,634. What was the original amount?
I don't have that with me, but it is, this reflects 3 additional personnel.
Personnel.
Aramark contract.
Okay.
You remember, Bert? I don't know how the exact number, I think it was, I don't know what it was. It's $1,600,000 something, low $1,600,000, 1,600,000, something like that.
Okay, so it went up approximately 60,000, 65,000, something like that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Any other members of the audience?
Mr. Barbarillo?
Oh, wait.
Remove?
Sorry, Mr. Barbarillo?
Yes, but except,
Abstain on F9.
just a mild.
No way over there.
I can get it out of my mind.
Mrs. Franco? Yes. And,
Abstain.
oh, abstain on F9, sorry.
Your name.
Abstain on my name. Abstain. Mr.
Abstain on
Klein?
my name.
Yes, except for F9 where I abstained for a name check recall.
Ms. Quackenbush? Yes, F9, abstain on my name. Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes, abstain, F9, abstain, on my.
Mr. Swindell?
Yes, abstain on F9 for my name.
Mrs. Morris?
Yes, abstain on F9 for my name, and no on number F12.
Mr. Bantha?
Yes, abstain on my name on F9. Open the floor now to public comments. You can raise your hand, state your name for the record, and on any topic you wish, and school related, we're not going to discuss the presidential election.
Go please.
Members of the audience. Oh, yes, okay. Yes.
Kelly Sullivan, Radburn Committee President. I just want to personally invite you all to our 5K on Sunday morning. Kids Fun Run will kick off at 8:45 around B Park of the Radburn Association, and 5K around neighboring streets, and then ending through A Park and B Park starts at 9. So come on and get some exercise.
Anyone else? Okay. First you said you had something.
I had one comment for the old business. Tonight, the board approved P14, and that's the appointment of Mr. Michael Grubbin to acting vice principal at TJ. And Mike is in the audience. I just want to say, Mike, welcome to administration. And
Noticing he's smiling before he
I
starts.
was going to say, he's smiling.
Look at that.
Before he starts.
Yes.
Please don't smile like that all the time.
I'll try that.
In that position.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, a very short comment. Who was your teacher? Who was your English teacher?
8th grade English at Memorial Junior High, not middle school.
That's right, it was junior high. But
Very
maybe
well.
have another success story.
We were the nice.
That's right. So we were.
You're gonna write properly, buddy. She'll catch it.
I'll be thinking, right.
That's right.
Yeah, I have some old business. The athletic committee did meet for the budget hearing, the budget process. And as a committee, we brought to Jim and Corey the proposal of the signage. After discussion and referencing Joanne's in-depth research, it was decided by Jim, Corey, and the committee not to bring it forward to the board. The administration felt that it was time-consuming prospect that would generate the revenue worth the paperwork and the monitoring. The administration, and also that this, specifically, the board cannot designate funds to a specific thing. So I'm just reporting that that was the committee's finding to the board.
Any old business, Jeff?
Yeah, I have no voice, this was for old business, because I mentioned it before. A few meetings ago, we approved a scholarship in my stepfather's name. And again, I wanted to thank, because I saw Mr. Marcello and Mr. Khan walk in. I really want to thank you for those essays that we got, gentlemen. They were beautiful, and heard his voice in it. So the letters we got were great to read, those essays. And again, thank you. And it's an obvious reflection on the work that's being done by the teachers working with our students, that they could profess their thoughts so clearly and wonderfully. So again, thank you, and we'll have some great debate through the family as we normally do to eventually decide a winner. So I wanted to again publicly thank you for that.
Thank you, Jim. Any other old business? Okay. New business, I'm gonna go first.
Can I just ask a quick question? I'm sorry. I didn't quite hear what Cindy said. She said signage? Is that, can you clarify what that is?
Yes, back several months ago, I guess now, we had a work session and it was brought before the board for selling of signage around the grounds.
Oh, okay. All right, now I
Okay.
understand. Okay. I didn't, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Mark, you got old business? I was gonna go first. Okay. First of all, it's very, very sad, and some of you may know this, but David Sider, who was a member of this board before any of us got, 1977 and 1983, passed away this basically. Gentleman, scholar, died peacefully, hospice, with his family by his side. Besides being a board member of Grading Board, he was also a scoutmaster, a leader of the Radburn Association, positions in the church. He was all about Fairlawn, all about Radburn. Lived here his whole life. I think he was born in Yonkers and came when he was like a month old. And he was just a great guy. And he did a lot for this town in a number of ways. And he's going to be sorely missed. Arrangements tomorrow, 7 to 9, and 2 to 4 and 7 to 9 over at Vanderplatte. And then there's a Church of the Atonement this Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. So I just want to let everybody know that. On a happier note, Mary Burdick, who some of you may know, is turning 100. Wow. Yes. And she was also a board member from 75 to 81, then she went on to be on the council. And I'm putting together a resolution for us to read at the next meeting, and hopefully we'll be able to get it. And then she's got a 100th birthday party, I think, the Saturday after that. We want to get that up to her. But Mary Burdick, 100 years old, just she's an institution too, who's been doing things forever. And some bad news for Radford Playground. We got a letter today that it's been denied. So we're trying to find out. We put in a call to Mr. what's his name, Bostock? Bostock. We're trying to find out what happened.
The letter didn't cite?
No, it just says denied.
There's some,
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. They could say, you know, you did this wrong, or so. Joanna's got a call into them. They haven't called back yet. We also have an appeal process, which we're going to look into. We have 30 days to appeal. But I was kind of dumbfounded to get the denial, first of all.
yeah, because it's playground.
Yeah, and then second of all, to not know why. So they told us to reference Article 5.3 of the guidelines, page 15, for appeal. So, and it also says written, if you have any questions, contacts in writing. So I'm guessing we're not going to get a phone call back. So we'll put something in writing, we'll keep you updated. We just don't know why, it's just very confusing. It's, you know, plans are fine, everything's up to code, so I don't know what their problem is. I guess we'll find out, but as soon as we know something, we'll let you know. All right, any other new business? Mark?
Yes, I wanted to ask the chairperson of the Education Committee to place on the next agenda mandatory community service for high school students. I know that there was strong opposition last year when I presented that topic, but I would like to present it again. And at this point, I would not like to see a thumbs up or a thumbs down whether or not we should place it on the agenda. I know that there may be concerns that the new superintendent may not want it. However, the new superintendent may want it, and board sets policy, not the superintendent. And regarding the time factor, because I know all these things are going through your mind right now, regarding the time factor, it doesn't have to be implemented in September. It could be implemented on a limited basis, possibly starting in January. But we've wasted a lot of time, I feel, over the past year and a half, and I think many other school districts are doing it, and I think it's time that Fairlawn takes a step forward and does this as well.
Well, I don't know about the next education committee meeting, because Jeff announced that it's gonna be all about kindergarten, and I think that's probably gonna
We
take
got
most of the
multiple, we
meeting.
got multiple topics.
Yeah, we have kindergarten, I thought the science was gonna be the next one, not the 28th, I thought we were doing,
No, we do a social studies, world language, and kindergarten.
right.
So I don't think it's gonna get on the
Well,
next
the
meeting.
problem with this committee is that with all committees, and I know Mary and I, actually Mary worked on it and I gave somewhat my approval on the master schedule that was made up for work sessions. However, I think we can all agree that this committee does not meet very often for work sessions at all. That topic, I broached the topic with Jeff back in January, and it has still not gone forward. And if we're going to do anything on this topic, it's not going to go forward until September, October next year. Either we have another work session to discuss other items that will maybe not make the education committee this time, but I think that schedule needs to be revised and needs to be improved upon so that there are more work sessions set up for more needed discussion of topics that are relevant. I know the council meets, I believe, twice a month on theirs. I don't believe we meet like that at all, not at all. And I brought this objection to the board in past years that we need to have more work sessions to discuss relevant topics, and it just has not gone through.
Well, we operate pretty much on a committee system, and we have had work sessions when it's been needed, especially with the referendum and a few other things. But I'm not in favor of having more meetings just for the sake of having more meetings. What you want to do, I understand, I don't agree with it, and it was voted down, and we certainly can approach it again, but I'm not sure, it sounds to me like this education meeting's all filled up. I don't know when the next one is after this.
Well, let me ask you this, if I can cut you off. Is there a certain time that the board leaves and considers the session over? Or does it just continue until the discussion is over on all the topics that are reached? Because to me, it sounds like...
I don't understand the question.
To me, it sounds like the meeting starts at 7 and shuts off at a specific time, maybe 9:30, and we go home. What you haven't discussed just gets put off to a further agenda.
I've never seen that happen.
So then if this was put on the agenda, then there wouldn't be a problem to
No,
discuss
but
it.
I'm not in favor of a 3-hour education
Well, that's why,
meeting.
well, let me ask
He's already
Paul.
got a number of issues on it.
Let me ask Paul. If I ask that the item be put onto an agenda, must it be put onto agenda? It does not. So then what happens with...
Control of the president and the chair.
So then what, the president and the chair?
Alternatively.
What do you mean alternate?
Either one of them would have the authority to put it on.
Well, who has it on this?
Either one.
Well, what happens? Who says no
Generally
and who
with
says
the
yes?
committees, the president generally lets the committee chairs decide in conjunction with the administration what's going to go on the committee meetings. I don't think the president, I've never done it, I don't know any president.
It's rare that a president would
Right,
exercise.
I mean, as far as this agenda goes, yes. Public agenda, that's the president's prerogative. When it comes to the committees, you certainly are free to discuss it with the committee chair. That, I would like A, B, or C, whatever it is you like. And if there's time to do it, that's fine. I don't, when's the next education committee?
We have to talk about that. I see there's another one that needs to be discussed also, that I had other topics to bring up, so I was hoping to get one in April, and I think we have one in June now.
I don't know.
I mean, in May, we have one in
The
June.
first Monday, it's always, education is always a first Monday.
Let me just see. All right, education in March. There's another one in May. You also have to give time to the administration. It's got to be run. You know, Jeff has to talk to the administration about putting something together involving this. And you know, it's not going to be this meeting. Maybe we get something together for May, but that's up to Jeff and to Bruce and to Natalie. Right? That's going to be up to them.
Isn't this meeting, the education meeting, going to be in May?
Yeah,
It would be the first
Would be May,
Monday,
would be the first Monday.
Oh, right,
in May.
right. We're in April.
We have a meeting without.
And then there's another meeting. Then there's not another one until the new school year.
Even though, if it's not on the schedule, can I still call for an education committee meeting?
Yes. Oh, there is one in June.
There's a May and a June.
There's a May and a June.
One in June, you can put up the topics.
Well, listen, listen, I'm gonna leave it up to Natalie, Jeff, and Bruce to discuss whether or not, or when, this topic is going to be in the education committee. I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna strongly urge that it not be on this coming one, because we already have a number of topics, and one of the most important topics, and I don't wanna give it short shrift, and I don't wanna be here for 4 hours or 3 hours, is the kindergarten. I think that's, right now, that's gotta be focused. And if you can get it on for the June meeting, and Bruce and Natalie and Jeff can put something together, then I don't have an objection to it. Now, Mary, you wanted to say something before you.
No, I only wanted to say that this was a rather unusual year, because we had numerous meetings that preempted the search for the superintendent. So there was a lot of preempting of other things, because we were one after the other, after the other, after the other. As well as the fact that this was a year that we were negotiating in 4 different contracts and so forth. So this is not yet the typical year of this schedule. We've had to postpone, no, we can't do this meeting, we can't do that meeting, we have to meet 5 times with Al, and we have another thing with Al, and we've got, so I feel that, while we could review the schedule, I understand, we could review the schedule, this isn't a typical year, is what I wanted to say. The other thing I wanted to say was, I think that this topic has come up previously, and I thought that the general consensus, but remind me, because I need to think of something else, I thought the general consensus was not to proceed on it.
That was the decision,
That
yeah.
was-
But in fairness to Mark, that was last year.
It can be.
So once you form a new board in January, you can bring the topic up again. It can't be every month like June, July, but it was last year, got voted down. If it gets onto the agenda, then we can discuss it again.
You don't have to. You can't.
Ron?
One, I wasn't around when it was voted down. I don't remember voting it down, but the other thing is.
That was before.
Yeah, but my question is, wouldn't this be more of a, instead of being on an education meeting, wouldn't this be more of a work session where we can discuss all of this before it's put on it? Like, I mean, to me, I'm just speaking for me, I would rather discuss it if we do come to a decision, then be able to present it at the education committee.
You're saying at a regular work session?
Yeah, like a regular work session. Is that, do you have a problem?
I was informed that it should be at the education committee.
Well, because the way he wants to make it mandatory to graduate a certain amount of hours.
Well,
that seems to me like it should be, and I think we all agree with that's really like an education graduation requirements.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, like, wouldn't we be able to discuss it? Like, I might have my own, I don't know, is that the proper time to discuss?
Yeah,
it?
that would be why don't
discuss it.
range of discussion, you have your, everybody.
Well, I don't have a problem, but I mean, I want to discuss it and everything else, hear the facts about it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, so I'd like to, before I do anything,
Why don't we have a work session then? I mean, I'm not calling a meeting to call a meeting. Certainly, especially this year, we've spent a lot of time in this room together. But why not have a work session and, let board members think of things that, that they've wanted to bring up for a while, but things have been pushed to the side because of all the things that we've been doing. And maybe it's not a bad idea to schedule them. If it comes to pass that we cannot fill the work session, we can cancel it. But again, it's not a bad idea maybe for the end of May or whatever to schedule a work session where we can kind of sit and, because again, we've been a little distracted by a lot of other major issues, referendum, interviewing, contract negotiations, that we haven't been able to get our heads in some of the other things. And perhaps it's not a bad idea to have that opportunity to do that. Should people want to bring those ideas to the board? The other thing that perhaps we could do, maybe like last time, in fairness, perhaps the next meeting, that next time we meet, I remember what we did was, we all came up with the issues we wanted to talk about, and then there was a thumbs up, thumbs down. If there was enough thumbs up, we put it on the work session, and those are the things we decided to put on the work session. So perhaps a week from today, if there are enough of those issues, the board agrees to sit and talk about them. And I think that would be a fair way to allow those issues to be brought forward, as well as not go out of our way to waste time if it's something that's not agreeable. So that's...
If you're going to consider that, I would consider having the entire board here. Joan is not coming back until the end of the month.
I would say that probably is fair. Well, what we can fit in our schedule, I know that we
Well,
have...
there's a spot for a work session in there.
Second Monday.
Second Monday, there's a spot for a
We're
work
gonna
session.
talk about topics of the retreat.
So, well, let me see, if we get the volunteer thing, I think most of us agree that should be on the education committee meeting, but not the next one, because we already have some heavy topics. Number two, if the board agrees, if there are particular issues that should be in a work session, why don't you email them to me, all right? I will look at them, we can talk about it. We have a public meeting next week for the budget. We can just talk about it at the end of that meeting, whether there's a consensus to have a discussion about it at the May work session. And if we have more than one or two topics, we'll put it. If there's one topic, I don't think we're having a meeting. If there's several topics that several people are interested in, then I think it would be worth having a meeting. But it's not going to be like, I want this, so we all have to discuss it. Nobody else wants to do it. If we get a few people, it doesn't have to be a majority, but like the Supreme Court, if you get 4 justices, you get to be heard. So I think that's what we should do.
I just wanted to say that when we're putting the meeting date together for the education committee, I know that the Columbia Bank dinner is on May 9th. And I know that central office does go to that, so I just wanted you to keep that in mind, because I know that we're supposed to meet on, well, actually, the 2nd is the first Monday. Never mind.
The second, the work session would be the night.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm alerting you to the conflict, that the president and the vice president gets invited to the
Right.
Columbia Bank dinner, as well as central office.
Can we move that work session to a day after, even though it's a Tuesday, to the 10th, because of that conflict?
Well, if we have some topics, next week we'll decide when to put the meeting on. But it would have to be a Monday or a Thursday. We're not going to start doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays for a work session. There's some things we have to do that for, but everybody working their schedules around Mondays and Thursdays, we start moving things to Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it fouls everybody up. So I'm not saying no to anything. I just have to do it in an orderly manner and in this particular manner. Okay? Yeah, I guess that's next.
Need a policy meeting.
Unless there's any other new business. I don't know. Mark had new business. Is there any other new business? No, that was it, Mark?
That was it.
Can I ask a question on the
fee schedule?
before and after care
Yeah.
schedule? Yes, because I didn't get that until after.
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
A couple, one, I just want to confirm that you've eliminated any sibling discount or any kind of half-day price discount if you're not going till 6 o'clock or not dropping off till 8 o'clock.
Right, there's no more discount for that. I don't know about the sibling.
Sibling is, but it's not listed there, but that's.
But there's no pick up early, get down time. It's
No,
one
that's
set
fine.
fee.
Okay. And the third thing was, it says through 8th grade, will it be aftercare established at Memorial now?
And always been determined by interest. You have to see how many students.
So I mean, so if you're a Memorial, you can enroll in? Okay. Because I've never heard of aftercare at Memorial, but that would be great if there was.
Because they've never had enough
Does he
students
understand
for
what this is for? Does he understand that?
Aftercare.
before and after.
No, just before and after.
Yeah.
Not the
No.
No, it's
Before and after care. Yeah, it's based on whether or not there's enough enrollment for the program.
Yeah, is there,
It's always been like that.
no, I'm saying, is there a number?
What's the
I
magic
don't
number?
know.
Okay.
But it's always been offered. It's just.
At Memorial.
Yes.
Okay, my understanding was it was always offered at TJ because of the proximity to Milton, but never at Memorial. That's what I was told.
I've never heard that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, meeting dates. Oh, okay, well, I need the policy.
Yeah, well, because we didn't have one in April because of everything going on. So it's the policy meeting. So I was looking at May 16th, Monday.
May 16th, okay.
7 p.m. Is that okay?
That works great.
Everybody good? May 16th?
So education is the first Monday, which is May 2nd.
Is that, we're doing,
At
definitely
what
doing
time
it?
is that?
7:30. The 7:35 program?
For what?
May 2nd.
Do we want to go earlier because 7:30? 7:30.
Just make
This is education?
my last
Yes.
class.
Yes. 7:30 education on the 2nd.
Okay.
And just to reiterate to my friend in the first row, this is going to be where we'll be discussing the curriculum for full-day kindergarten. So all the parents who have been seeking and wanting and yearning and pining for,
We have to make sure that this is out there as much as we can, so we're not, people aren't taking shots at us. So we're gonna put it on Facebook, we're gonna put it on
that's
the
what I'm telling
website.
our friend in the first row for.
Well, he's not the public relations guy.
No, the reporter.
Oh, the reporter.
You know the difference.
Okay, in the second row. Dave's in the second row.
Tracy,
Tracy,
we don't see it, Tracy.
we've heard a lot from people that you really want to know, so, you know.
May 2nd?
May
I'm writing this down.
May
May
2.
2nd?
My father's birthday.
Spread the word, people.
That's how I know May 2nd.
I'm wearing a bow tie tonight.
You might not know May 2nd. That's on there.
Second,
Okay.
please.
And Ron was May 16th?
16 policy, 17.
7 p.m., okay. May 16th, policy, 7 p.m.
Do we want to at least talk about
I think the special education
Is there just... Wait, I can't hear the meeting stop.
Special ed chair.
I can't hear the meeting
She
stop.
wants to know if there's a special ed meeting.
I can't hear her, I'm sorry.
All right. Special ed, yes or no?
I have to get in touch with Michelle to see if there is, no, we decided, we decided at the last meeting that there was no necessity for special ed for the remainder of the year, I'm sorry, yes, no.
Okay. Any other committee?
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about that?
When is it?
June something.
Yes, we do want to talk about that.
Well, we signed up, right?
We signed up. You signed up. It must be the 12th. Yeah, it's the 12th.
Well, that's the public relations or the community relations committee can deal with that. So we'll just go along with it. Some people let pass up the years.
Who is that? That's me?
I don't know, that's you. You're chair, I don't know.
I'm used to it being you.
You know, it's not me this year.
Who's on that committee?
Joanne's looking.
Please,
You are.
I am.
Oh, Lisa's chair.
Joe, Jeff, and Mark.
Elise, Joan, Jeff, and Mark.
We do it Thursday in May, it says.
Thursday, May.
Community Relations Technology will be the first Thursday of May, but
I can't do it.
I'll do the
you
first
have to be
Thursday.
fluent this year. because you're still in the field. You're still
I want to write this down.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I can't do it anyway. I can do the 12th.
For what?
School board secretary.
Wait, we're getting off track.
Oh, we are?
Are we talking about community relations meeting?
I can't.
And now all of a sudden we're talking about dinners.
We haven't
Yeah, because the community relations meeting is.
Well, Lisa said she can't do it. And then Jeff started talking about something else.
Only
We just
because-
stick
You
to
want to
when we do it.
community relations on the 12th of May.
Whatever you do.
To discuss the street
It's-
fair.
You're not
I haven't
on.
done yet, I haven't done yet.
All right, time's up, you're not having a meeting. Come on, what, brain surgery?
Well, I'm looking at my calendar, I actually have something on that date.
What time?
Just saying.
Can't be more important than this.
Maybe you can do it
Just
early.
like to go right out.
Hey, Sarah, Sarah.
Must be a Beatle concert.
Parking tickets on sale tomorrow, by the way. Already got them.
How about a 4 o'clock meeting?
Yeah.
Can we piggyback on Monday, the 2nd of May, just come in at like 7 before the education? Is that okay?
Which meeting is this?
Community
This is community
relations.
relations.
Denise, Mark.
7.
Joan and.
Yeah, before the.
Okay, so we have student relations, May 2nd, 7. Education, May 2nd, 7:30. Policy, May 16th, 7 o'clock. Our regular meeting is May 19th. At 7:30.
What?
Okay, Mike.
Can we reach out to the town and just see if there's any topics for shared services? Because of everything going on, we haven't had one.
And we have next Thursday is the public budget, 7:30. Okay, that it? Okay, we're going to recess in the closed session to discuss hit reports, personnel issues, student hearing. We're going to go into closed session, it might be a while, we'll come back out to vote on a couple of things. We're going to go back into closed session, but we'll not come out. So I have a motion to recess in the closed session.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Why don't we take 10 minutes? Come back to closed session. Come back up to vote.
My goodness.
Mr. Marcello.
He's charging on both.
How are you?
How are you?
Really hard. Anyone celebrate the Passover? Have a good time.
Oh, well, welcome to Fairlawn. Glad you're here. I hope you find your school system. So welcome, you know, if you should ever need us, you know how to find us. What school? Okay. Yeah, my daughter will be going to church. But I wanted to talk to you.
From the committee.
They left already?
I don't know how to do that, but my kids are like, oh.